Strangely, it's exactly what many of the conspiracy theorists said was going to happen. That after the Maui fires, the government would seize the land and use it to create 15-minute cities. Now, I'm not a proponent of that theory because they were already implementing smart city policies and infrastructure in Maui. They didn't need to destroy everything that they had already built over the past 5 years in order to accomplish this. There are many ways they could get it done. However, I guess eminent domain can be messy. Buying land from people who didn't want to sell it could be very difficult. And this is one way to get the job done. There's been reports that people are not getting their insurance claims paid out, that they're being denied. And so the conspiracy theory was the government started the fire on purpose, or that some individuals did. I don't know if the government or otherwise. That way the land would be completely valueless and useless unless you were a government entity that could claim the land. Now here's the story from the Post-Millennial. On Monday, Hawaiian Governor Josh Green announced that his administration was considering acquiring properties in the seaside resort town of Lahaina that had been destroyed by the recent wildfires. He vowed to prevent foreign buyers from swooping in to exploit the tragedy, suggesting the state was better suited to take control of the land. Quote, I'm already thinking of ways for the state to acquire that land so that we can put it into workforce housing, to put it back into families, or make it open spaces in perpetuity as a memorial to those who are lost, Green said, while standing amongst the rubble. We want this to be something we remember after the pain passes as a magic place. Lahaina will rebuild. The tragedy right now is the loss of life. The buildings can be rebuilt over time. Even the banyan tree may survive. But we don't want this to become a clear space where then people from overseas just come and decide they're going to take it. The state will take it and preserve it first. In a separate press conference, Green reiterated his commitment to ensure the land was protected for residents and revealed that he had spoken with the Hawaiian Attorney General regarding options to do a moratorium on any sales of properties that have been damaged or destroyed. It's going to be a very long time before any growth or housing can be built. So you'll be pretty poorly informed if you try to steal land from our people and then build here. I will try to allow no one from outside our state to buy any land until we get through this crisis and decide what Lahaina should be in the future. Now take a look at that. If you had a house, it's gone, you can't rebuild it. You can't. They're not going to let you do it. You won't get a permit. They'll say, no, there's too much damage. Tons of work has to be done before anything can be built here. But I'll tell you what, you can sell it to the government. They'll buy it off you for pennies on the dollar. No, to be fair, they'll probably give you a fair price and say they're going to come out and be like, these poor people, we're paying a premium for this land. Now, again, I'm not entertaining any conspiracy theories. Fires happen. They were already building smart hub infrastructure in this city before the fire. That means they destroyed the infrastructure they had already spent money on. But far be it from me to reject the idea that they are exploiting a crisis to reinvigorate their plans for a smart city. Here's what I think makes the most sense. They wanted to build a smart city. They wanted to buy land. They bought what they could and they were building it. They don't need to wait very long. The people who live there, eventually they'll pass on. They'll pass the house to their kids. The kids will be like, I don't want it. The city will then buy it from them. And that's how things typically go. They didn't need to burn down and destroy everything they'd already built so that they could buy it up and build it again. I mean, it's in the realm of possibility, like it's physically possible something like this could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen things like this in the past. I just don't know what degree the probability is. But I think the reality is bad power lines, garbage companies, negligence, social breakdown, which we're watching happen in every major city. Fire erupts. They're like, oh, crap. Afterwards, you got the governor saying, well, look, guys, closing a door, open a window here. Let's block any of this any sales of this land to anyone but us. We'll buy it up. We'll take it over and we'll do our thing. I think the more likely scenario is exploiting a crisis. Now, here's the really dark portion of this. He's going to block sales. If you lost your house in this fire and someone right now came along and said, I will buy it as an investment and help you out because you need the cash, they're going to say no. You've got to sit and wait. That's what I'm talking about with exploiting a crisis. They'll tell you to wait. They're not going to let people come in and exploit a crisis, but they're actually exploiting it. You, the person who lost your home, then suffer. Eventually, in desperation, you say, I need money. And they say, well, look, we'll take it off your hands for you, but we're not going to let someone else swoop in. And then they'll pay you pennies on the dollar. According to the Honolulu Civil Beat, over 2,000 structures were destroyed in the fire, 3/4 of which were residential. Nearly 100 people have been found dead, though that number is expected to rise as crews continue searching the area. Here's the article from Vice. Oh, Vice. We hardly knew ye. Conspiracy theorists think the government used lasers to start Maui wildfires on purpose. Many of those spreading the conspiracies are subscribed to Twitter Blue, which ensures their posts are promoted more heavily. It's actually called X Premium. Get it right, dude. Journalists. They're going to mention the posts have racked up tens of millions of views, and many of them remain on the platform so that any warning that the claims being made are entirely false. Yes, there are fake photos that look like lasers. They are wrong. Lasers don't look like that. It's like a movie laser. There's a photo of a rocket going off, and they're like, that's a laser strike. Well, the claims about the government seeking to create a smart island or turn the fire-raised city of Lahaina into a 15-minute city are new. The idea that laser weapons systems developed by the government have been used to start fires are nothing new, dating back to at least the devastating wildfires in California in October 2017. And I just think, look, people are like, you entertain the possibility that China could fire lasers. And I'm like, yes, I'm not saying it's likely or probable. I'm saying like, hey, let's consider the future of warfare and the weapons they have available. I mean, maybe they set the Canadian wildfires to choke us out or something, whatever, but it's probably not the case. This is the difficulty with any kind of future weapon, to be honest, because Occam's razor would always suggest the simple solution tends to be correct. Therefore, lightning strikes, downed power lines. Bro, if you came to me and said that the U.S. government fired a laser to start fires in Maui, I'd say, okay, what are our other options? And someone said, a guy was driving his truck down the road and flicked a cigarette into the brush. I'd be like, I'm going to go with the cigarette, dude. Have you ever seen how many cigarette butts are flicked out of windows? It's nasty. People be smoking. There was a fire in California that I think was started because a guy was driving his truck and a chain was hanging off the back. And as the chain was being dragged, it sparked and it lit some brush. It created a spark, which hit some tinder. And then there you go. It's really that simple. The reality was mismanagement. What I see here is more likely that Maui was completely mismanaged this. I mean, these people should be impeached and removed. How about this? Maui, Lahaina, had a robust emergency siren system that did not go off. People are going to come and say, that proves conspiracy. No, it proves that social order is breaking down. I don't need to assume everything's a conspiracy and was planned. When you see like Nordstrom getting raided, I don't think Democrats planned on RICO gangs or whatever you want to call it, storming into these stores. Certainly they're not prosecuting crime. And I think it's mostly because they're trying to get elected, not because they've conspired to destroy these cities. Though, to be fair, it does seem like a controlled demolition. We've talked about that before. You know, I'd put it at there's a possibility and a probability that we have these elements of government destroying everything for personal gain, perhaps. When I look at what's going on with law enforcement and their the against Trump and all that stuff and the failures, I'm just like, these people are as dumb as a box of rocks. They continually make moves for short-term gains, which bring about long-term losses, and that fits the pattern. The reality here is Democrats love to exploit a crisis for personal gain. I'm sure there have been many instances, we know for a fact, that they've actually false flagged. They've made the crises. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, that was a false flag. There are many, many more. It's a clever tactic for building PR, for seizing land and property, for sure. But it doesn't mean that we make our bets based off of that. Ooh, I got a poker analogy for you. You're playing against someone in poker. You don't just always operate under the assumptions they're holding aces. They might be, probably not. Another way to put it is what doctors say. When you hear hooves clopping, you don't think zebras. Is it possible that when you hear that trotting, that is a zebra? It could be a zebra. Probably not going to be a zebra. Zebra? I don't know, whatever country you're from. You get my point. We have to operate typically on the most probable outcomes because then we'll have the highest rate of success when making decisions. That is to say, I think it's fairly obvious that Democrats are going to exploit the crisis for power and personal gain. That also means that the fire was likely started because a downed power line, because they're everywhere and they're aging. Can I just explain this to you guys? Our system of power lines it's like 130-year-old machine that is in complete disrepair. I can't tell you how many times I drive down the road, I see a power pole about to fall over. And I saw one recently, and they like took a big 2x4 and just propped it up, like hammered it in to the ground and up against the pole. And I'm like, is that going to work? I would not be surprised if one of these things falls and starts a fire and burns a house down, because nobody wants to clean up the trash. Nobody wants to do the hard work. Here's what I think. I think they're going to steal the land. They're going to claim it's for the good of the city, and they're going to exploit the crisis to get what they want. But the reality is, since 2017, I think it was, they've been working on smart city infrastructure in Lahaina. Power poles or whatever, a bunch of like Wi-Fi and stuff they were building. That's been destroyed. They have to rebuild all that. And they're going to be happy to do so. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.